Welcome to Lessons from the Woodlot. This is going to be an awesome episode. I know I say that a lot, but these lessons, I've got the honor and the privilege of just shadowing Mark for the last year and a half and learning all these things. And, buddy, we have decorations in Lowe's for Halloween.
Yes,
we
sir.
have football, which is awesome. And that means
It means deer season.
it's deer season. And this episode is probably going to play the week that you may or may not be in Kansas. So
Yeah.
this episode is so cool. Like we're finally there. Like we live for 9 months out of the year to get to these 3 months to really be able to hone our craft and enjoy our time in the woods. All the fruit of our labor, all the food plots and all the stand prep and all the things we've done all kind of culminate into this. And I know that a lot of us have the same question because every day I sit here, I get to look at Zeus. Zeus was shot in one day, October the 28th, on your first sit on a farm. That was permission that had 3 people hunting, one including you, 2 other guys. They were hunting the I mean, if I saw that deer on my trail camera, I'm hunting that sumbitch every day. Okay,
That's what's happening.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm going in hot, boys. I'm all in. I'm putting all my chips on the table. I'm taking off time out of work, and those guys probably, I know one of them definitely was doing. But the point of all of that is, sometimes that can be the wrong strategy. You walked in like the cool guy in the club at the end of the night, and just everybody's like, what's going on? And twat! You shot him the first sit. So I think it's a pretty neat story, and I think it's an amazing story. Number 9 all time in Iowa, typical. I mean, that's just says it all. But let's go back a little bit. How in the world did you know it was that day? How did you know when to send it? How did you know it's go time today? You sat around for 27 days of open season in Iowa with that deer walking around on trail cameras, and you never hunted that buck once until the 28th. So, Mark, I'm going to ask you the question that probably millions of other people want to. How did you know to send it on the 28th? How does that happen?
So, sticking it with the story of this particular deer, I had got permission on this farm the year before. Stuck out cameras and what I thought was good spots, and immediately had him. And I always named the deer.
Mm-hmm.
And that particular farm was jam packed with some big stuff. But anyway, so in that particular farm, I always name them because I create files for them.
Sure.
I'm trying to learn that deer. Where some people might just be getting pictures of them, like, oh well, the big deer's here today, whatever. Well, that's not how I roll.
Right.
You know, I want to break down that picture in its entirety. So I was breaking down wind directions, you know, and so on and so forth, barometric pressures, and anything I thought, you know, again, would make you move. You know, this is me trying to do the deep dive into learning the personality of the particular deer. And that plays a role in every one of these times. You know, every one of these different deer. Each one are a little different scenario. I typically try to let the deer tell me when it's time to go. As an example, 2 years ago, I shot a deer in 194 or whatever it was in Kansas, Hooker, and that deer daylight nonstop, all the time, all summer long, into the fall, into the season. Well, I get, well, as you said in the last episode, I think you was talking about how, or at least you was telling Jake at some point here about how many pictures I get from clients and stuff. Oh my gosh, look at this one, look at this one, look at this. And it's even going into season, you know, and they might be daylight. There's daylight pictures of them. And they're like, man, I'm going to wait till, maybe it's October 4th. I'm going to wait till October 28th or 30th. I'm going in. What? Well, why? Why are you waiting? Why do you wait? Why do we wait? Because that's a question. I mean, again, and here I am asking why. You know, why do we wait? Well, we wait because we're waiting on him to daylight, right? But if he's daylighting at the beginning of the season, trust me, I'm going to be in the stand. You know?
Correct.
But he has to tell me that. Now, some deer just don't. And he did not like the daylight at all until testosterone, overpowered his better, until he let his little head override that big head. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
And then things happen. That testosterone spike takes place, and then all of a sudden, he was still doing the same things he was doing before. Still the beating, the bed to feed and feed to bed, and there were starting to ramp up a little bit of rut stuff. Big rubs are starting to pop off, and all of that stuff was starting to play a role. But he wasn't even beginning to give me any kind of inclination, at least at the part of the farm that I was hunting or planning on hunting, that he was going to daylight. But the farmer had went in, or the landowner had went in and mowed some of the CRP patches where I had him pegged. And so he mowed his bedroom out, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So he kind of disappeared on me for a week, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I talked to the guy that was hunting on the farm, and now he had pictures of the deer, and he was every day he's grinding it like it was his job, But he was staying to the north side of the farm. He had a couple particular spots that I knew where he liked to hunt, and he told me that he had an encounter with him, daylight, but he smelled it. And then, like, no longer, and I had that conversation with him, bam, got a picture, and it was like edge of daylight coming back to bed. So what had happened was, or at least my theory behind this whole thing was, I was waiting because and I'm not trying to be mean or elitist on this, but I was pretty certain, I knew that other person's hunting level, I guess you could say, and anything can happen, but I was pretty sure he wasn't going to get him shot. And I was pretty certain that he was applying so much pressure to that part of the farm that he's going to move him quick. And the moment he told me that he got smelled, that he seen him daylighting, and that he got smelled, I'm like, oh, it's on.
He shoved him out of there.
Moved him. I mean, I had that conversation, and the next day I got a picture. The next day, and that next day I got a picture was on a cold front, this 27th. The day after a cold front is one of my favorite things, and me and Bobby Kendall from the Whitetail Group have talked about this for years. We did so many dives into so many different ways, and Bobby coined this phrase. He called it the Magic X Day. It's stuck. It's a catchy phrase, and it is what it is. It's a Magic X Day. Typically, it's the day after a front. It depends on the front. If the front is a slow-moving, long-lasting front, that low-pressure system might be in place 2 or 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on the back side of that. When that comes through, when that next high-pressure system comes in, shoves that system out, okay, all of a sudden, barometric pressure's on the rise. Usually, temperature's on the fall. You get this X. You get this magic, and there's a timing, from when that goes off. But usually, if that plays out, whether it's in the morning or the evening, usually it seems like every deer in the country's on their feet at that time.
And Bobby has killed a bunch of deer.
Bobby's killed a bunch of deer.
In October.
A
bunch in October. Right?
So but I had looked at that, and I'm like, man, I've got the stand in place. He's already showed me, because where my camera was a couple hundred yards out, but it led into, remember those last episode where I talked about all those little finger pinches that stick up, and so I was at the head of one of them. So this ditch come up out of a creek, and it shoved him around the top of all of it. Well, and I was thinking that once I got him back on camera on that the other guy that was hunting the farm that had told me about it had probably pushed him up off that end of the farm, put him back where he was, that he had been removed since that had mowed. And I thought, I'll bet you, because right at the edge of where that CRP was, there was a lot of briars and stuff that was still there. And I was like, I'll bet you he moved back into that bedding area. I'll bet you he did. I'll bet you he got moved because he mowed it a few days earlier.
Yep.
It got him up into there, and then he felt pressure, and he's like, abort. I'm headed back home. And he moved back where he was. And the moment I got that picture on him in the morning, so, and here's the thing, I got a picture of him in the evening before at gray daylight, like right on the cusp of, so I got a picture of him in the morning at the edge of daylight in the morning, and then I got a picture of him that evening leaving. And I'm like, I know where you're at, and now you're telling me you're willing to be close to daylight, plus the information that I got.
Yep.
So I'm like, I think I know where he's going. Now, here's the thing. The testy, part about that, or the tricky part about that, was a scenario where the field at which I thought that he was feeding in, pick cornfield, and I didn't want to get seen going in. Now, the cornfield he was leaving, I came off the other end of the farm. There's access on both ends of the farm. And I come in off the other end of the farm, and I looped around and got in there trying to avoid that entire field, because that's where I thought he was.
Right.
And that morning, I got in that stand, and it got well after. Matter of fact, I waited till about 15 minutes after daylight to even go in, because I didn't want to blow deer off into that spot that I thought he was coming in at night when I can't see. So I sat back, got ready, had my bow, everything. I waited for gray daylight. I let the field clear of deer, and then bam, in I went. On my end. I didn't know it was happening on the end that I thought he was coming in on, But since the neighbor was always coming in and hunting there on that north end, I thought, well, that's the perfect place I can access, because that way I'm not at risk of bumping him coming off that field on that end. And he's already used to human pressure here, so I'm pretty certain he's not going to be on this end,
Right.
That was the thought process. So I went in, got up in the stand. I waited till a little bit after gray daylight, and again, I got on Facebook. And I posted a picture of some velvet pictures of him, and maybe a hardhorn picture of him, and picture of the bow hanging in the stand and whatever. And I'm like, first set in on this deer, good Lord willing, it will be my last. I kid you not. It was 5 minutes, maybe, after that post. I see something coming, and I look out, pull up my binoculars, and
Just to see that deer walking at you.
You're just not prepared for, every deer, every hunter wishes, the dreams are to kill a 200 incher, but my dream was never as big as to kill a 200 typical. That's just, my dreams weren't that big, they were nasty and flyers and drop tines and all of those things, but they was never that big.
I have 0, and it's my dream.
So that being said, here he come, and don't get me wrong. So I had to call to him, and this is, and here's the deal. It was a light west-northwest wind that day. He was on the downwind side of that cover, coming up that ridge, exactly like they like to do. Now, where I was at, he was going to have to come around the head of that ditch to keep on going. Well, that brought him inside 25 yards. Now, the problem is he dipped down and he hopped up on the ridge that was over there. So he had started his hook because he was downwinding his bedding area.
Yep.
And that ridge that was right over there was the head of that other mode CRP field. So that was the bed. That was where I knew he bedded. So, and it's October 28th, and I figured pecking order.
What time are we at?
It's about 8:40 in the morning.
8:40 in the morning. So he's going to bed.
He's going to bed. But here's the thing. Here's where a lot of people, when you let that play out, when you don't go in there, pressure them, they don't get that human intrusion, they've not smelled you, seen you, any of that stuff, and it's truly fresh, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because he's not let you know that he's willing to even daylight. Because I try to let the cameras tell me that story. Or sightings. But it didn't play out that way. It was via camera, and he simply was not showing me that he was willing to daylight. And then the landowner mowed the CRP there, and I was like, oh my God. So things played out the way they did, and then here we are. It's roughly 8:40, and then he crosses, and he's on that ridge, and he's right on the edge of the ridge, downwinding, quartered into the wind, coming towards that point, that ridge point right there, because there was creek, they met, ridge, then they go into on the ridge. I'm over here, where this, I'm on the downwind side of all this cover, on the downwind of his bedding, roughly 100 yards, one ridge over.
So how far is he when you first see him from you binoculars?
About
100?
120 yards.
Okay. Yeah.
And
I just for the people that haven't heard it,
so I'm like, shoot, he's already over on the bedroom side. I thought he would vet it on my side.
Right.
what I thought was going to happen. And he was kind of coming towards me, but he wasn't coming my way, and he was on the opposite side of my ditch.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh no. So I immediately grabbed the antlers and I spun around, and on the back side of the tree, I have my backpack and I have my antlers there. I didn't even bring them off the hook because I knew I needed to set them down pretty fast.
Right.
And I'm like, crack, 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 crack. And I heard something, and I turned like this, and he come in at such a pace. I'm standing there. He is already inside 30 yards, and I've got antlers in my hand. I mean, he barreled down the hill.
Yes.
And I got so lucky that I did it when I did, because when he came down across that ditch and came up, he was on the south side of my ditch coming up the hill. So once he did that, if he was going to come on around, he had to come around the head of it, inside bow range, and that's exactly what he did. Came around bow range and drew back. The rest is history, so to speak. And then I just and I sat down, and I'm a quivering mess at this point, because all the while I'm like 190. He's got to be 190. He's 190. I know he's 190. I mean, he's right in there. You just don't see a typical and be like, oh, that deer's 200. That's not something you do.
Yeah.
And when I seen him in person this year, I was like, oh man, that deer's really big. I mean, he's really big.
Yeah.
And so anyway, and right as I was pulling the trigger, because I'd stopped him, and right as I was pulling the trigger, he took a step, and I hit him further back than I wanted to. And I'm scared of the shoulder as it is. I stay away from the shoulder.
Yep.
I've had lots of bad luck in the shoulder, so I avoid it like the plague. I don't ever want to gut shot a deer, but I know pretty certain I'm finding it if I happen to gut shot him.
Yep.
So I'm 8 ring in the lungs always. So that's where I'm aiming. I'm not. I want to have mistake room forward, if that makes sense. Shoulder, 1% chance. Guts, 99% chance. If you know what you're doing, post shot. That's all I'm saying. Because that gut, fatal. That shoulder, rarely ever fatal.
Right.
So, anyway, and that played against me on this one, because right as I was pulling the trigger, he started walking again, and I hit him, a little bit behind that back rib.
Yep.
But he was slightly quartered away, because he come around that structure worked to perfection. Because
Right.
he had to come around the top of it.
You got him.
When he did, it gave me that slight quartered away and whap. But he did take a step as I shot. So anyway, we left him overnight.
We got to stop you there.
Yep.
I'm a very aggressive front leg forward 0 for 21 shooter. Okay. I like that front cage. I like them to open that shoulder, give me that shot at the heart. I like to hit the moneymaker. Again, 0 booners, 21. And we say it jokingly because it's the truth. But you have a theory. When you shoot a deer back that I have heard and I have experienced, I have watched it, and I think this might be a place where people can learn something. If you shoot a deer back, Mark has a concept.
Yeah.
And he follows it religiously to the T. And it has recovered many a deer. But I think we're not condoning the use of large amounts of alcohol. But for the gentlemen that can keep their shit together, I Will you share that with us? Are you willing to share it?
Sure, I got no problem with it because the world knows, because I always post it. Here's the thing: you want to know how much that is a part of Mark Luster at this point, or at least the people that follow me on Facebook. If it's fall, if it's deer season,
yep,
and I post a picture of Crown Royal, they already know.
They know.
They know.
They've been there before with you, right?
Immediately, I'll have 100 comments. Oh my God, what'd you shoot? Who is it? Which one? That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I didn't show anything deer.
But a crown.
Crown
Royal.
Crown in a bottle. So.
And it's blackberries your jam, I believe, right?
Well, I'll tell you my favorite. My favorite crown is salted caramel crown and apple cider, buddy.
Yeah, there you go.
But be careful, because that stuff will reach up and grab your soul if you're not ready.
Right.
You drink it like tea, man. It is awesome.
All right.
But anyway,
so shot back. Mark immediately
I knew it for what it was, So I sat down. Actually, I started packing my. Well, first and foremost, I got on Facebook and I just put OMG, with about 10 exclamation points, and my phone, you could have used to vibrate the back of your neck for the next hour. It was a nonstop. I think there's like 1,300 comments to that thing. It went insane. And all I was, oh my God. So then people were, just saying OMG, all of my people, text, things are coming. My buddy Ben Thompson, he's like, I'm getting out of the stand. It was pandemonium, because those that knew this year was special.
Something big.
Something special took place. All that being said, I waited overnight. And what I do is typically I go home and I do what I say is self-sabotage. It's because so many people errantly go after a liver gut shot deer too soon. Mm-hmm. I have jumped liver gut shot deer 30 hours after shooting them. Now, they might be dead in 30 minutes. You might have clipped an artery or more liver, or punched into the lung that you didn't realize you did, or whatever might be the case. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, liver and gut they're not dying from blood loss. It's essentially, think of it as your appendix bursting. Okay, now your appendix is bursting, you just don't go to a hospital. You're going to die. You're going to die because the bowel is leaking into your blood system, and you'll die from blood poisoning. But that takes hours. Yeah. It doesn't take minutes. That don't happen in just a short amount of time. Don't let anybody con you into going too early. So if I shoot it one day and it is, my
liver,
target animal,
back,
and it's back and suspect, I will not go that day.
Right.
It's over. And this was 8:45 in the morning, and I'm like, he's 100% dead, and I am not going after him until tomorrow. I know that because it was cool, and you get those naysayers, and they're all, yeah, but what about the meat? Well, I understand that, but it was cold, it was frosty. It was fine. That's the first thing. But the second thing is he's likely alive for 12, 14, 16 hours potentially. So he ain't been dead that long when you come back the next day. But here's the thing: they don't bleed hardly at all. And if you go jump that deer and he goes and gets a whole bunch of adrenaline pumped into him, he might run a half mile, not bleeding. Maybe get on a farm you can't even follow him on. All things bad. Now, if you shoot him back there, it's unfortunate. Nobody wants to do it. But if it happens, he's hurting. It's very painful. That's why they don't run very far. That's why they stand there with their head and ears drooped down. That's why they walk away really slowly, taking very short steps, because stretching that diaphragm, that stomach hurts like crazy. They don't do it. So they typically go to where they first feel comfortable, safe, and lay down. Or if they really feel ill, they'll lay down very soon because it just hurts too bad, whatever, and they'll bam, down. Mm-hmm. If you don't jump them, typically they're going to be very, very close to right there.
Right.
So I backed out, and I got a bottle of Crown. And I tried to find the bottom of it.
Right.
I typically never do.
But there's a theory.
But the reason for that is I had allowed people to talk me into stuff before that I knew better But they're like, oh, look at that blood. It's whatever, and then we end up jumping. And then you got a whole other problem, a whole other set of problems.
Yes.
So what I do is I immediately go to Crown. And then if I'm drinking, I'm driving nowhere. That's first thing.
Yep.
The second thing is I try to impair my cognitive abilities for a while because I don't want to think about it and I don't want to be tempted. So
Correct.
I just simply drink some Crown. And then I'll go to bed that night. And then when I wake up the next day, I'll take me some pills for a little bit of a hangover, and then I'll have breakfast. And when my hangover is done, then it's time to go for the deer.
Okay.
And nobody's talked me into anything because I'm not doing anything drunk, and I'm not even driving. I'm at the house. Let's say drunk, just whatever.
Yeah.
But I self-sabotage on purpose.
Correct.
It's my coping mechanism.
But it works.
With this, I'm saying, I'm by no means alcoholic. I hardly even drink anymore. But if I shoot a deer and I'm waiting, 100%.
Yeah.
I'm in it. But because the moment anybody's like, oh man, we should go do it, I'll be like, well, no, I've drank about a third of this bottle and I'm pretty happy. You can come over with me if you want. We'll watch some deer videos and we'll talk about everything. But we'll go tomorrow. You know. So it's essentially I always say I self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So and I've done it enough that everybody on Facebook knows. At this point in time.
Yeah.
But
and I mean, one of those deer that we recovered went less than 60 yards.
Yeah.
And it was the same, and I got to watch the Crown theory play out. And he did. Like, you shot him, he laid down in the food plot.
I got out of there hidden, and he didn't make 60 yards and was passed away. So,
but I've watched it, and I think it, even if they, we're not sponsored by Crown. Okay, go back to your mom's basement.
But I will say,
No,
Crown, if you are a sponsor, if you're looking for, a sponsor, to sponsor somebody, I'm your dude. I trust me.
But it was a very effective way to give that deer the time it needed to pass without pressuring it, pushing it. That deer found a spot by the creek. He laid down, and he never left.
Yep.
He stayed right there. Was there, 18, 19 hours later when we recovered him.
Yep.
So it's a good story, and I just think, sometimes when we say funny stories and we laugh about them, it's the reality. I've watched it. But that somebody will remember that, and then they won't push that deer this year, and they'll let it die the way it's supposed to die, and then they'll recover that deer, and there'll be I guarantee you there will be at least one hunter in this country that takes that lesson and says, you know what, I'm going to do what Mark did. I'm just going to let that thing lie for a day and a half, and I'm going to get out of here, right?
Just get out of there and let him,
Now, the self-discipline, okay, and then I'm looking at you guys. He shot this deer. He saw this deer and shot it and didn't pursue it because he had seen the way it had ended badly so many times before. So you can say that it doesn't work. You can say whatever you want. But he has a 210-inch typical. And if you don't have one, then you might want to listen because I've got 0, and that is a big-ass deer. And to have the discipline to not want to run and put your hands on that thing, because I think at the end of the day, everybody wants to see
I was getting immense pressure to go after it.
I'm certain.
Immense.
I'm certain.
So I went home, and I got my ball of Crown, and I mowed the yard. It was October 28th. I didn't need to mow the yard. I mowed the yard. I started grading the lane. I mean, I was doing everything. I was picking up sticks. I was drinking. I did everything I could do to take my mind off it. I stopped because I set the phone to the side because I had so many people like, let's go after it. Let's go this evening. No. It's not smart. Now, here's the thing. This particular scenario, it actually went up through and I liver lunged him. And he probably was done inside an hour or 30 minutes. I don't know. But what I do know is he was right where I thought he was at when I left him the day before.
And?
Perfectly fine.
So now, by teaching that to other people, they may not use Crown, but at least they know a time frame. And being in a rush, I don't know that has aided, a recovery.
Post-shot, my biggest pet peeve on the internet is somebody that shoots a deer, and most of the time, a lot of times when they go to the internet, it's usually a big deer or a big deer for them. Might be the biggest deer of their life, and I don't care if that's a 100-incher or a 120-incher or a 220-incher. I don't care what that is, but they're going through something. What I mean by that is this is an emotional roller coaster. I mean, and you put so much time and love and effort and money and capital and time away from family and all of this stuff for that moment, and then that moment happened and you made good, but it might be a little bit bad, or whatever.
Sure.
Now you're truly an emotional roller coaster at that point. Now you go back and you try to get advice, which is what's happening. They go on the internet and then there's somebody that could give two craps about that deer, that person, or whatever, and they explain themselves and they're on the go after it, it's dead, or and they might have showed a picture of the blood spots or the arrow or whatever. Dead deer, go for it, blah blah blah. And he says, I hit him back. I know it's back. It's center of the body, but it's back, it's liver, but it did come out and it's a little bloody, but it's got material or whatever. Oh yeah, you got the artery. Go get him. And it is riddled with crazy advice.
Yes.
And almost always, and anybody that follows me on Facebook will see this, I will normally torch the earth with those people if I can.
Right.
The reason being is don't go give terrible advice, ill-advised advice to somebody that you don't know. You're looking at a picture of an arrow and you're telling that guy, it's a perfect hit, go get him. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. I don't even understand. That don't even compute in my mind. That's some of the dumbest advice I've ever seen. And it drives me crazy because that person posts that and goes on about their day and they never think about it again. But that young man or old man or young into his hunting career or whatever might have used that advice to go after his deer of a lifetime, and he followed your terrible advice, and then he went and blew that deer up, and that deer's gone, and he lost that deer forever.
Yeah.
That is a terrible thing. It's the most disgusting thing that can happen to a hunter.
Right.
That being said, he followed the advice of some idiot on the internet. And it drives me insane.
Right.
I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I can stay out of most arguments anymore. I always tell my wife I'm a work in progress. But that one there, I can't handle.
Right.
I can't handle. Do not give dumb advice to somebody that shot their deer of a lifetime on Facebook if you're looking at a picture of an arrow.
Right.
If he says, I'm questioning, I think it's back, I'll see you tomorrow.
Right. If
Talk
there's
to me
any
tomorrow
question,
about it.
just walk away.
Just walk away. And then you get those people, the meat. Well, guess what? The moment you went in there early, jumped him up, and he ran a half a mile and didn't have any blood anywhere, guess what? You lost the rack, the meat, and everything else. You're still feeding the coyotes. You didn't do anything.
Yeah.
All you did is lose your deer. Or tell that guy who followed your advice who lost the deer. It's sickening to me.
Yeah.
Don't give bad advice on the internet. That's just crazy to me.
I knew I'd find a place somewhere in the podcast series to get this in here.
Sorry, I got all amped up on that one.
But it's an important thing, and it's only because you care. I do. And so one of the things is understanding what you care about. Look, we're all asking you to give us all your tips and tricks and strategies and tactics and how you did this and how did you know it was the right day to go after a 210-inch deer and shoot him on the first time. We're asking you this. I think it should be beneficial to you to get some shit off your chest sometimes that you see this stuff and it's happening and it infuriates you, and it only infuriates you not because you're trying to say that you're right and they're wrong, because somebody's best deer of their life is on the line, and the advice that they're getting is pretty terrible. If you have any question,
it's from a person that probably never even shot a deer that size in the first place.
Right. We're supposed to be hunters, and we've had this conversation. We're supposed to give people have tribes, right? Like hunters, we're supposed to stick together. We are our own worst critics. We decimate each other. I can take 5 hunters that hunt on 5 farms around me, and they won't talk to me. But if I take them to the Bahamas and put them on a sport fishing boat and we're catching tuna all day,
it's high fives, and smiles all day long.
It is high fives and bush lattes till the cows come home.
Yeah.
Everybody's happy. They're taking pictures with the fish. everybody's good. Crank the music up, Tim. And it's like a dance floor on the boat, and everybody's having a good time. I put them in a woodlot where one deer goes across 5 of my neighbors' properties, and everybody has a trail cam picture of that.
Nobody's got a picture of a
and they
big deer.
hate my guts.
Yeah.
They hate my gut. So as we look at our community, hopefully we can provide, and I think getting exact information and tactics and strategies from you helps people dismiss all the bullshit and kind of get to the shit that matters to them.
Yeah.
And it's like, look, I don't know any hunter that says, hey, I'm going to raise my hand. I want to kill the smallest deer in my life this year. Nobody says that. Nobody says they want to walk out of the woods and see the DNR, right? So why do we give these other people power over us, and they're giving us direction? So if there's any doubt, back out. If you're old enough to drink, grab some Crown. If you're not, do some chores for mom and dad. Find something to occupy your time.
So then going forth on because ironically, I have actually had this conversation twice with 2 different people today, honestly, about timing. I got a guy sending me pictures of a buck that's daylight all the time.
Right.
And he's like, man, I can't wait till about October 30th. I'm going to go in there. I'm like, why? I mean, if he is daylighting opening day of season, why not have an opening day buck that you shot? Because what do we wait for? Why do we wait? Well, we wait for him to daylight. Well, if he's daylighting in September and season opens in September, then why in the world would I not go after him in September?
Yeah.
We're only waiting because we need to get time, usually, for his testosterone levels to spike up to the point where he throws a little bit of his apprehensions to the wind and starts doing a little more daylight stuff.
Right.
So, movement, I'm saying.
For sure.
I don't believe in the nocturnal theory. I think every deer moves somewhat during daylight. I think all of them, even the nocturnal ones. But I think they move in their safe zone that you can't get in on them.
Yeah.
There's still daylight inside.
Yeah.
They still stand up. They still stretch. They still feed around. They still do some things during daylight. There's no such thing as he lays down before it gets daylight and he gets up after dark, and that's the only thing he does. That's not even a thing. So every buck that's walking this earth, you can shoot. Trust me, you can shoot him.
Yeah.
You just have to figure him out.
Yeah.
You just have to figure out what tips your, cards in your favor, if you will, for that individual deer.
Yeah.
Now, going forth, like we're getting ready to come in season, and there's a deer in Kansas on the farm that we bought, Aussie, that's got the 2 drop tines, and I'm really excited to A, hunt that deer, but B, hopefully, good Lord willing, we can get him on the ground, and then we can show this story. We can tell it, because right now this deer is very, very comfortable. I
think he wears SPF 15.
I mean, it is crazy. I mean, he is. But, and again, I tell my clients all the time, a lot of times I'll get to their farms and they'll have a food plot that is like, say, that they can see from the road, or people can see that, or whatever, and they're that food plot's somewhat exposed. So once they leave the cover, they are exposed. And personally, I'm saying to the road, to whatever.
Sure.
If it's a great big deer, it might not even be a deer hunter that's stopping to look at it. It could be a lady with her 3 kids, and her kid likes to hunt because her dad or her husband likes to hunt, or whatever might be the case. So she might, oh my goodness, here, look, kids, and they stop and they're pointing at the deer, and the deer runs off. But he was in your food plot. Yeah. And then that only happens 3, 4, 5, 6 times. The learned behavior is much like when you got in trouble when you was a kid and your dad lit that ass up. Guess what? The cause and effect here. The cause caused this effect, and the effect is you're getting your ass beat because you did something you wasn't supposed to do. The learned behavior is I'm not doing that no more. So if you lay out a food plot that dogs, people, the road, anybody can see, stop, make those deer nervous, and then they go back into the woods, all of a sudden learned behavior is I'm not ever hitting that food plot during daylight. You might have fed your deer, probably not ever going to kill the deer you're after, because he is susceptible to all other things, all kinds of outside things, even beyond your own personal hunting.
Sure.
So this particular deer, we got on it, very first camera put out, bam, deer's there. I'm like, oh my God, there's a little opening in here, and me and our buddy that helped us get on the, to get the property bought. He runs a business, and we'll get into that here in further episodes. Hopefully after I show you this deer, but he has skid steer and stuff, and there was a little like hourglass opening that was perfectly located from where I thought he was bedded and where he was going, and it was kind of an intercepting type scenario. So we cleared it all up. I got turnips and radishes and stuff put in there, and then I pulled 600 feet of garden hose with some forks, and I've got it. I've got sprinkler system going on it and everything. It was just a unique scenario where we was close enough to a neighbor's house, and he let us do it. So all that being said, I've got water in there. So and then I've got a water tub in there. So I gave him fresh water. They got all the fresh water they want. It's on a float. It fills it up, shuts it off. And then the sprinklers are on every night. So all that being said is I've got a really nice lush food plot right there, right next to his bedding area, and we get him most every evening coming out before dark, and we get him most every morning going in right after daylight.
Right.
Usually it's usually daylight on both sides. So we are, and the blind is in place. And again, Kansas, a lot of times you don't get you got the right spot, you might not have the right tree, so you have to make it work right.
Right. And Cody brought us that farm at the beginning of July.
Yes.
And we had to wait for Maryland to close, and so Mark got, permission from the seller.
From the seller.
To allow him to go in there and do the work quick. And I know Cody was instrumental in helping with that. Cody and Mark got in there, and they got the work done on that 40 acres.
Yep.
And they did 8 days of work in 12 hours. And Mark drove to Kansas and back from Iowa 6 hours each way in one day. I'd never seen anything like it. But again, for the lesson, it was a new farm. All the deer are new to us.
Every one of them.
We didn't know any, we have no real intel.
Prior history. We got a few trail cameras from last year.
Right, from the seller.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So Mark took immediate action to go in and try to create some sort of oasis on that farm, and he created the oasis, and him and Cody, they knocked it out 2 days, and then boom, that deer has been there about every day on camera.
Yep.
Now, what wind directions does he like?
He really loves the southwest wind.
He loves the southwest wind.
He loves the southwest wind, which, and again, I had anticipated that. And the reason why I anticipated that, where he's at, he has a water source close where I think he's bedded.
Mm-hmm.
Every indication is that he's got a water source very close. I think he's bedding really close to that water source. Then he stands up and he's only got to walk 70, 80 yards, and he pops into that food plot. And then he works across it. Well, he was working all the way across it and going on out a ways and out to a field. But we've kind of held him up with what we've done. The plan has worked, and held him up. Now, off of today's, lesson, we're talking about timing. My point with all of this is, and a lot can happen in the next 25 days or whatever, it is. But if his patterns continue the way that they are, he's already daylighting. I don't need to wait. I don't need to wait for him to daylight more. He's already daylighting the way I want to.
Right.
He's really consistent with the wind that I need him to be, which I set up the plan and my blind according to where I thought he was bedded and where it gave him a 1/4-2 wind to come to that spot, but yet he can't get me.
Right.
So I have the jump on him. He thinks all is right in his world. Wind's quartered into his nose. It's giving him, comfort in going to that. In Kansas, you get a lot of south winds,
Yeah.
And this deer's daylighting there all the time. If that continues, I would say that Oasi is
he's got some problems opening day.
He could have some problems.
Because if there's a southwest wind on opening day,
I know where I'm going.
You're not waiting, which is the whole purpose of when to go. When do you go? When the deer tells you to go.
Tells you to.
Yeah.
It isn't timing. It isn't a date. It isn't whatever. Now, here's the thing. if the deer is somewhat kind of told you to, and this is all situational, but
Sure.
but so once it's right, once the timing is right, let's say
Right.
you get behind on the backside of October 24th, 5th, something like that, into that time. Well, lots of deer are daylighting lots of the time. So in that instance, I try to hunt fronts. There are lots of people that delve into the moon thing, whatever, and I will tell you that not one deer ever has been in any way harvested because of, or I hunted because of a moon phase, a moon anything.
Sure.
It's statistically speaking, if you read any independent study, including my own personal, observations, that moon is nothing. And if you think about it, it's the dumbest thing in the world if you think about it, because you're saying a rock a million miles away, depending on where its location is, depends on whether the deer's like, oh shit, I got to get up and go to the food because that rock is sticking up overhead.
Sure.
That's the dumbest thing ever.
Yeah.
In fish, it makes sense because it affects tides
Yep.
and such, which creates bait coming in, going out,
Yep.
whatnot. Makes perfect sense.
If you've
for
ever
a
fished for
fisherman.
wahoo, you know that the moon, absolutely, when the tide's going, an outgoing tide, you're killing wahoo.
Yeah.
And it's about 2 hours long, and then you're not killing them. But I think that's where it came from, because so many fishermen
Are
cross
hunting
over
those
to
too.
hunters, right?
Yeah.
And our buddy Ed Dwyer, you got to go fishing with.
Yeah.
He's a big one about the moon overhead and underfoot. For tuna fishing.
Right.
100 miles offshore. Like, I think that's where that creeped into our world, and then it got marketed, whatever.
Well,
but I know when I look in your notebooks, you have all these moon phases, and none of them match up. What does match up is when the barometer's over 30.3.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Like-
or a Magic X day.
That Magic X, right?
Magic X day. You
Temperatures
could
are
go look
dropping.
at my entire house, and I'd say 9 out of every 10 was killed on a Magic X day. Usually speaking, that is the day after the fronts push through.
Right.
Almost always.
Temperatures are dropping.
Temperatures dropping.
Pressure's
on the rising.
Creates the
it
X.
creates the X, and it is magical. Like
Right.
when I shot Hooker, I shot that deer that day. I don't. I mean, I had him done, checked in, and gutted, and before dark.
Right.
I mean, way before dark,
Yeah.
on October 14th,
Right.
which, ironically speaking, that was the very next year on October 14th. I was in Iowa on a Magic X day, and a particular deer in a green
15
soybean
point.
field also went October 14th. Again, those are two deer, two Boone and Crockett class deer, one of them nearly 200 inches, that we're talking about here, that was shot on October 14th in the October lull,
Yeah.
if one believes in a lull. I
Yeah.
don't. But let's just say you believe in the lull, or the lull phase,
Right.
if you will. Typically, I think that is food source changes.
Yes.
I think that you get acorns dropping, you get more rains, there's mushrooms, there's lots of things that are growing now in that time frame that weren't before. Food source shift. All of a sudden, people aren't seeing their deer. They're like, oh gosh, there's this October
Yeah.
lull. No, it's a food source change.
Yeah.
I promise you, it's
Yeah.
a food source change. But all that being said, it's always individualistic in my opinion. The deer needs to tell you.
Right.
And then if it's into season that it's right and you just need to be in a tree, then a lot of times I'm hunting the weather front, as timing.
Right.
Because just grinding that stand, so many people have ruined their hunt for the year over a big deer that they're after because they got this great big deer and he's coming in all of the time. And you're like, I mean, he's there. But a lot of times it's dark, like it's just night picture, but he's there. Oh, he's 30 minutes after dark. He's an hour after dark. He's an hour and a half after dark. But he's coming. He's there every day. So you just grind it. You just grind it. Just grind. Now all of a sudden, by the time it's right and he actually wants the daylight, you've done educating him.
Mm-hmm.
Done educating him. You're not going to kill him on that stand.
Right.
You're not going to do it. Patience. Sit on your hands. Wait. Let the deer tell you. Let all of the signs play out. Now here's the thing. If it's a September 15th opening day and that deer's daylighting, go kill that guy.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's 10 or 11 o'clock at night every day,
Yeah.
all you're going to do is give him an education. You're giving your target an education before you might have the right property. You might have the right food. You might have the right bedding. You might have everything right. You might have the right deer that is on your farm doing the things that you want him to do, but he's just doing it in a time frame at which it's not right. He's
Right.
not leaving that core bedding area until after dark for whatever reason.
Right.
That deer, every one of them's individualistic,
Right.
so you just don't know.
Yeah.
All of that being said, I think that the deer has to tell you the time, and then when the time is right, I hunt fronts almost exclusively. Over hunting one in the big buck deer hunting world, less is more. I would rather hunt the 5 right days in November as the
Right.
wrong 25.
Right. Right.
I mean-
and for the viewers and the listeners, we set this up. Podcast in the past, we set this up. Hey, try to have multiple farms to hunt. So
Yeah.
you're just not grinding the same piece of ground. Find some
Mitigate
public,
your pressure.
Sprinkle it in. Look, if you're hunting 3-4 different herds, you have 3 or 4 different options. If you're hunting one option, you're just pounding it to death, then you got to be very strategic about the days that you go in on that farm. And I mean, I look at the 52 that we have in Illinois, and that farm just never gets walked on unless planting, mowing, fertilizing, like that's it.
And guess
There's
what?
zero
How
human
many daylight
intrusion.
pictures you got right now?
Oh,
Nonstop.
Yeah,
Nonstop.
It's just insane. In that farm, on 52 acres, I filmed, I think it was 37 or 38 bucks on an X day last year in that blind on 52
Yeah.
acres. So
and a neighbor, and to that point with the location of our food plots and the way that's let, there is not a neighbor that could in 52 acres. We're not talking about a big farm.
right,
There is not a neighbor that could stand on the edge of their property looking across yours that can see anything
nope,
on anything.
nope, sits right
They
on
have
a highway.
no idea.
Nobody would even know it's up. Like
And
like nobody wants to hunt. They don't want to hear cars. They don't. That's where big deer live. Where
Seclusion.
nobody wants to be.
They want to
Exactly.
be left alone.
Yeah.
And,
So
and then when you get them left alone and you make them comfortable, then we're in the game.
yeah. Then they
Then,
need,
then
they need that
then they play
SPF.
the part. Because if you think about it, deer are only more nocturnal because of human pressure.
Right.
Okay, so if you're in an area that a mountain lion is, mountain lions will hunt them during night. They don't discriminate. Bobcats, coyotes, wolves, or any derivative of anything along the way that pursues a whitetail deer.
Yep.
The only thing that hunts whitetail during daylight only is us.
Mm-hmm.
Our pressure. So if your deer are for the most part nocturnal, you need to turn and look right square in that mirror because you are the reason that that's taking place.
100%.
You.
100%.
So that timing is never on that kind of thing because when you put that kind of pressure in it, you might get some deer. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, every one of you guys probably have learned this because I was the same person. I'd go to the farm, hunt it, and I didn't think about my entrance and didn't think about my exit for the most part early on in my career. And I'd get into the backside of a food plot, and then I might have 20 deer on there. Deer I wanted didn't show up. Now I got to leave. Well, how do I leave? Well, I got to blow up those 20 deer. Okay. So, and then y'all, you get people all the time, I pull out a coyote call. Well, guess what? You still run those deer off. Now, don't get me wrong. Is the coyote call probably better than the hunter itself? Yeah, probably, because they didn't visually see you climbing out of the tree.
Yeah.
But you still run those deer off
the same.
in a not necessarily great
Right.
fashion. But, so then the second time you hunt, it's 12 deer. The third time you hunt, there's 8. And by the fourth time you hunt, there's a doe and twins, and they're walking out there, looking at that tree stand, trying to figure out if you're in that thing or not, because you've educated every deer. Most of the deer aren't even coming to the field now during daylight, and the ones that do are looking straight at that spot.
Yep.
And I guarantee you, if you have hunted very much at all, that is something you've dealt with. I guarantee
Yeah.
it. And that, my friends, is hunting pressure.
Yes.
And that is what moves them during nighttime. And if every doe and fawn know it, do you think that guy don't?
Oh,
I
he definitely-
promise you, he does.
He's
You-
only alive because he does know. it.
You've ruined it.
Period.
And here's the thing, and I'm not bashing on anybody. I'm just making a blanket statement. All of the time, one of the cardinal sins I see when I go to clients' property, they'll have a food plot. And they'll have that blind or stand just right in the middle of the food plot. You're like, how do you get out of here? Well,
Yeah.
whatever. Yeah, you're not thinking. You're not thinking past while you're in that point, in that blind, or in that stand. But let's say that we design it, or you hunt in a fashion that you can hunt that, but you can exit stage left without any of the deer in that field knowing that you did that. Now all of a sudden, every time you hunt it, it's like the first time you've ever hunted it. Well, guess what? Your odds of killing that guy just skyrocketed.
Correct.
Past that first hunt.
Right.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Skyrocketed.
Right.
Every time that you hunt the other stands and you're blowing deer, it drastically diminishes every hunt you go. So I'm just saying, timing, less is more. In the timing, less is more.
Yes.
Let the deer teach you when to go. And then if the deer is saying, hey, I don't have any problem daylighting at opening day, then go hunt him opening day. He's already doing, why would you wait a month for him to do the same thing he's doing then?
Yeah.
Go. But, you know.
And I will note during Aussie's tenure, which is very short-lived, the neighbor was so cool to
awesome dude.
Like, the guy's invested in you killing this deer. Like,
text
so cool.
me when
like,
he sees. I mean, it's
gonna
so
be
awesome. Yeah.
Right? But the guy thought that the water trough was not working.
Yes.
And so he, bless his heart, went out there at 3:20 something in the morning. It was bad, and he walked through the middle of the food plot.
He walked
to
through our
the
timber,
water tank
into the food plot,
and we didn't see.
And then we got
Aussie
pictures
on camera
of it for like 4 days.
4 days. So one trip, one intrusion into that deer's core area. And he ex-nayed out for 4 days.
Not just daylight movement. Now,
Any
we're talking
night.
about daylight movement, morning and evening, every morning and evening.
Yep.
And he turned that to that deer disappeared for 4 days.
From one walk at 3:30 in the morning into the middle of the food plot. So if you don't think they smell you way longer and way stronger than you think. It is their number one weapon. And again, watching this deer get patterned on camera, watching with Mark every day. I joke with him. Mark pets him on the phone before he goes to bed at night. And when he wakes up in the morning, he knows he's going to be there in daylight. He pets him in the morning, and then Mark goes about his day. And then at night, he checks on him. Oh, he's there. And it's comfort, right?
It is.
But the deer is on a pattern that is very, very bad for his health. And we hope that we get to watch this thing all play out with the strategy you layered in there on this farm.
Well,
it's
what
really
we're gonna,
exciting.
What I'm thinking about doing, and I don't know if it'll be him. It might be him, but he's so daylight. It might not be him. Might do one that's a little more not as apt to daylight, but daylight some. But I might try to get together a whole bunch of trail cam pictures of a particular deer that we're getting pictures of or whatever. That is night, scattered day. And then I will break down that day and that wind on every one of those. And then we will display it on the podcast or something to show people the power of it. And here's the thing, and I will say this before we're done because we're about to wrap up here. If you've never done it before, and if you've never used this tactic before, it's not all lost. As long as you got your historical trail cam pictures of a deer, and then you know exactly where that trail cam picture was taken. So, and then the exact time and date. As long as you got your time and date right, and as long as you know the location, go back, grab all of your pictures of that particular deer from all of the years past, and stack them in a pile in your phone app, whatever. Pull up Weather Underground, type in your zip code, and then type in the date that the picture is. Pull up the first picture, look at it, see what it says. You know, say it's October 25th at 6:34 p.m. So type in your zip code on Weather Underground, type in, and then it'll pop up, hit weather history, pull up that date. And then look at the screen. The screen lays out across there, and you can tap on it to the exact minute. And it will tell you the exact direction that the wind was at that minute. Mm-hmm. Then I type in my photo editor app, and I type that on the picture. And then put it back in my file. And then when I'm done, let's say you got 100 pictures of that deer. Now I have 100 pieces of evidence to put my puzzle pieces together.
Yep.
All of a sudden I might find, oh, wait a second, I've got 100 pictures of him, but I only have 8 that are daylight or right at the cusp of daylight. ironically speaking, on this food plot, ironically speaking, all 8 of those happen to be with a southwest wind or a derivative of a southwest wind.
Yep.
That's pretty powerful information whenever it comes to next southwest wind, doesn't it?
It is.
I think I know where I'm going to be.
Right. You don't need to hunt any other direction.
Without breaking down that, without taking those pictures and doing my due diligence, I was in possession of all of that invaluable information, and I didn't even do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I've been giving seminars at the Iowa Deer and Turkey Classic and the Illinois Deer and Turkey Classic for a couple of years now. And I've been giving those seminars, and there are some camera companies that listen to that seminar, and then next thing you know, now a lot of them, if you type in your zip code, it will link to the weather app and display that information for you, and you don't even have to break it down. But any previous years, we have went down and completely dissected previous year's deer and shot them the first sit-in on the next year on that day. Because that's how powerful it is.
Yeah.
It is crazy how much information is in those trail cam pictures. You just don't realize that you got it.
Yeah, and this is at all of our disposal. But
every single person that has a trail camera.
I will tell you, most people don't take the time to do that, and the ones that do, they have 21, and I have 0.
I think we're going to change that this year.
We're going to try. We're going to do our best. But thank you guys. Thank you, Mark, as always, for giving us tips. Today's great lessons. There's a bunch of takeaways in here, right? Let the deer tell us when it's time, not us, not our vacation, right? We want to hunt early October. We want to hunt around those Magic X days. You can go on YouTube. Bobby Kendall does a great little video. He shows you how to do the app on your phone and put the zip code in for your farms. So it'll point out the X days to you. So if you just go to YouTube and search, the Whitetail Group or Bobby Kendall Magic X Days, there's a great video there. Shows you how to do it. There's no sense in us trying to waste your time and recreate it. It's right there for you, and it's a great tool.
And that's another thing, too. I know it's a really good point that you just made, and I'm sorry I didn't mean to cut you off. But to what he just was talking about there, Bobby, owns a Whitetail Group or whatnot. We're really good friends and affiliated and all of that stuff. But there is another wealth of information right there with the Whitetail Group. If you get on YouTube and all of that stuff, we've dove down many rabbit holes in there, and it's we're here to help you with information, and that's even beyond our own selves. And I would highly recommend anybody going to that YouTube page or whatever as well, because it is worth. Don't go unless you got a lot of time, because you're going to be there for a while. Because I binge watch them.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good stuff. And then, as you know, smash Mark's
like
words.
And subscribe.
Smash the like and subscribe. We give away a farm. We hope to give this farm away next September before hunting season. September of 2026 to one lucky winner. You don't have to pay anything to be entered. Like and subscribe to the Facebook or YouTube page. Follow us. Interact. Every time you interact, we have the marketing team. They have a way of tracking the people that are interacting with the site. They do it, and you get another entry for doing that. And if you go to our swag store and grab some of the great gear, today I'm wearing the button up. It's a great shirt. We wanted good material. I didn't really care about, we weren't doing this for a profit. We were doing this so we had nice stuff to wear. So there's a lot of Carhartt, really good stuff in there, stuff that you would want to wear, stuff you're going to wear anyway, stuff I wear every day on the farm. So again, winafarm.com, like and subscribe on YouTube, follow us. We'll see you next week, and hopefully we're in the season. Look forward to seeing you, and hope you have the best year ever in 2025. Thank you, guys. See you next week.
See you next week.